Going on, everybody? Eric here, driver lineup, rolls a case steering wheel holder. Dropping another video for you guys. I am going to be stepping up the video game this month. So I've been reinvigorated and re-inspired. I had a really great conversation with Jarvis, who is Willie's brother, Million Mile Man's brother. Ran into him in Manuka yesterday morning, I believe it is. It was like 2:30, 3:30 in the morning, or something like that. And we just had a great conversation, and I was talking about YouTube and stuff like that. And I've been needing some inspiration because, like I've said before, quite a few times, I've lost my joy in it. And so I'm, trying to rediscover that joy. And I've run into multiple drivers over the last couple of weeks. Jarvis didn't say this, but I've run into multiple drivers over the last couple of weeks that have been like, man, come on, dude. There's a lot of new YouTubers with Prime, but there's a lot of people who just want me to make new videos. And so I'm feeling reinvigorated a little bit, I think. Anyway, I'm in line for a washout and figured I would tell you guys a little bit about a critical event. Now, if you're not familiar with Prime, I'm not sure how it works with other companies, but with Prime, these trucks have what's called critical event reporting. And it could be stability control, meaning a truck is acting like it's going to roll, collision warnings, hard brake. There's all kinds of stuff that can throw a critical event. They're not good. Critical events, if they start stacking up on you, they lead to punitive actions, and can lead to your service contract being canceled. In other words, being fired. I don't work for Prime, but I do have a service contract, and having your service contract canceled is basically being fired. So, critical events are, when it happens with a truck, it immediately gets reported to Prime. You immediately get notified on your Qualcomm that you have a critical event, and you immediately get called. So I pride myself in the fact that for 5 years, the only critical event that I ever had before this was from hitting a deer. That was like 3.5 years ago, 3 years ago, or something like that. And it was a hard break critical event because I made the decision to get on the brakes when there was a deer right in the middle of just standing right in the lane when I came over the top of the crest of a hill, and I got on the brakes. And you know what? I stand by that decision. I know Prime always says, just hit the animal. Well, I did hit the animal, but I hit the animal at a speed that caused no damage to the truck. I knew what was in the trailer, and there were no other vehicles around me. So, it's a split decision that I made, and it was a decision that I stand by. I was not going to hit that animal at 65 miles per hour. I hit the animal at like 50 miles per hour. Or 45 or 50 or something like that, and it was just off the front right of the deer guard, and it did zero damage. No damage to the freight, no damage to the truck, no, like, the anti-lock wasn't acting up or anything like that, so anyway, so there's no big deal. At the end of the day, no big deal. But that was the only critical event that I've had before a couple nights ago. And I would love to know if you agree on this. Now, the night dispatcher who immediately reached out to me, because if the truck reports a stability control critical event, like, they obviously need to be concerned about that, because that could mean the truck is rolled, right? Now, they can check and see, check your location and see that you're still rolling, but I understand they would immediately be like, hey, are you okay? Is everything all right? We got a stability control. So here's what happened. And I stand by this decision as well. And I hate that I got it because, again, I pride myself on my safety record, and critical events have just not been a part of my career other than hitting that deer. For once, the collision mitigation alert on this truck probably helped me mitigate significant damage. This collision mitigation system is generally horrible. It screams at me if it thinks that a 18-foot bridge is only 8 feet. It screams at me if I'm going through construction and it sees barriers. Sometimes there's nothing in front of me whatsoever and it's telling me that there's a collision warning. And when that happens, your reaction, unfortunately, because of it crying wolf all the time, is to get on the fuel pedal, because that's the only way to override it. Otherwise, it's going to start trying to brake the truck and slow the truck down, sometimes very quickly. So you'd better be on the fuel pedal unless you want your truck hard braking for no reason at all. So it's like the boy who cried wolf. You know, I've never had it give me a warning in an instance that was helpful until 2 nights ago. Absolutely bizarre. Let me move up here. Yeah, move up positions here. Stand by. If you're wondering why I'm not wearing seatbelts, because I'm literally inching forward in line. So don't everybody freak out. So anyway, I come over this crest. This is in Ohio, I believe. Either Ohio or Indiana. I'm not 1000% certain on that. But I come over the crest of this hill and it throws. Now, bear in mind, it's in the middle of the night, like 2:30, 3 in the morning, right? So visibility is not great. I mean, if you don't have your brights on with these headlights, I mean, you're only going to really see, you're not going to see something that's black in the lane until you're 40, 50 yards. You know, you're not really going to have a good view of it. So the truck actually saw an object in the road before I did. It threw up a, collision warning of something ahead. And I'm cruising along, listening to podcasts, and in that instance, it really made me like focus in and look up ahead. And sure enough, 2 or 3 seconds after this thing went, which I was already canceled cruise control and got off the fuel, because it just, where I was, there was no bridges. It was straight, flat. Like it, to me, it was like, okay, clearly it sees something, So I instantly was trying to figure out what it was seeing and was off cruise control, off the fuel pedal. And then it came into view. There was a full super single with a rim right smack in the middle of my lane. I mean, like, actually it would have been a little bit to the left of the lane. A full tire with a rim right in the lane, just laying on its side. Now, can you imagine the chaotic damage that would have caused if I had hit that thing? Like, it would have been a nightmare. So I made a decision to go around it. Like, that was like, I had to mitigate what would have happened if I would have hit that thing. I mean, it would have just been, I could have a blown steer tire, all kinds of axle damage. Who knows, man? I mean, that would have just been awful, So I was on the brakes pretty hard and went around it. And it wasn't comfortable, I'll be honest with you. It was not a comfortable feeling. There was one point in that, because I kind of went into the shoulder, where the truck did not feel comfortable. I'll just put it that way. Didn't feel extremely comfortable. I never felt like I didn't have control of everything, but it's just not the kind of maneuver you want to be making. You know, the trailer is pretty heavy. It was not optimal. But hitting a full tire with a rim in it, the only thing I could think of is that it fell out of, because this trailer that I have has a spare tire underneath it in the spare tire rack. The only thing I can imagine is it came out of there. Like, I can't imagine that a Super with a rim would come off of a trailer without the driver. No, but then again, you see some crazy shit out here. So I have no idea how this happened. So bizarre that would be laying in the middle of the lane. But anyway, I made that decision at split second as soon as I saw it to begin swerving into the shoulder. Again, it was middle of the night. There's no cars next to me, no vehicles next to me, no vehicles behind me. It's just me alone out on the interstate. And I made that split decision to go into the shoulder and not hit it. And I stand by that. And that's what I told dispatch. I was, and he said, "Oh yeah, you did the right thing." Which I'm not so sure that they should say that. But that's what he said, because I explained the whole situation. So, as soon as I came off the shoulder, like immediately there was a red triangle, and I knew while it was happening that it was going to throw a critical event. There was zero doubt in my mind. But quite frankly, I didn't give a shit. That was like, look, it could have been just a freaking nightmare if I had hit that damn thing. Because again, it was offset a little bit to the left, so it's basically right in front of me in the seat. So unless I swerved, I would have taken it under the steer tire on the driver's side. And it would have taken out my bumper, it would have taken out all kinds of shit underneath, and I would have hit it in the steer tire. I mean, you imagine hitting a rim, and not just a trailer, a normal tire size rim, but a super rim at, 62, 63 miles per hour, which, granted I had slowed down quite a bit, but man, it just would have been awful. So it sucks, but it's just one of those things, like, what can you do? You're either going to hit it and probably cause an accident with yourself that could be pretty serious, or you're going to try to mitigate that and go around it. I'm not suggesting that anyone swerve out of the way of objects like that. I don't know. It's a case-by-case scenario. You're going to have to make your best judgment and try and be safe about it. And I feel like I was safe about it, and I feel like I handled the situation correctly. I wouldn't have done it any different. I was not going to hit that thing. There's a trash truck emptying a dumpster, which is extremely loud. So that's what that is. So anyway, yeah, I got my second critical event in my career. The first one was hard brake from hitting a deer, and the second one was stability control for swerving around a pretty substantial object in the middle of my lane. It is what it is, man. I hate it. I hate that I had it. And I know that dispatch and safety is like, oh yeah, yeah, no big deal. You did what you thought was best, and we stand by you on that. In both scenarios, really, in both my critical events. They weren't critical events where they're like, hey, you need to do something differently, or you shouldn't have done that. In both cases, they're like, yeah, what you did made sense in that scenario. We move on. No big deal, I still don't like it. I don't like it to be on my record. I don't like it to be in my app. I want to not have any blemishes, I strive every single day to be as absolutely safe as possible. But it just is what it is. There was just not a damn thing I could do. I was just not going to hit that thing. That was just not an option, and you have so little time to make a decision. Especially in the middle of the night when you don't see something like that until you're right up on it. Same with that deer. There's just no time to think or process. Like, you just have to make a decision and stick to it. And you know, you have to be very careful because you can make a wrong decision. You can make a bad decision. I feel like in that case that the bad decision would have been to hit the tire and rim. Like that would have just been, again, there's zero doubt in my mind that would have done substantial damage to my truck and probably have caused me into an accident situation. So, you know, I made a decision, committed, stand by it. I would love to know what you guys would have done. Would anybody have done anything different? Would you have hit it? Like, what would you have done? I'm talking about a super single with a rim. Probably pressurized. Probably not flat. What would you have done? Would you have done what I did? Would love to know. All right, guys. Be safe. Make good decisions. Always drive to thrive. Talk to y'all soon.